Hi, this is Paul Anderson, and welcome to the 7th episode of Educational Screencasts. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a piece of software called Seesmic Desktop. Now, if you watched my last screencast, I showed you how Twitter works and kind of the basics of Twitter. What you find is that if you just use the Twitter website, that works great. As long as the number of followers that you have and the people that you're following are maybe like 20, 30, something like that. But the neat thing about Twitter is you can expand your professional learning network and you can make it really, really big as an educator. So that's cool. But once you do that, the stream gets kind of unwieldy. And so I'm going to show you my quick journey and how I decided that Seesmic Desktop was the one for me. But you'll see another couple of alternatives as we go. So the first thing that I found was a piece of software called Tweety. I first found it on the iPhone or on the iPod Touch. But then I realized that these guys really know how to program, and they came up with this gorgeous kind of a program. So this is called Tweety. Tweety can have so here's my Twitter account. You can have multiple Twitter accounts. So like here's my AP Biology one, but here's your regular account. You can get a stream of everything. You can get all those that are referenced to you or the replies, and you can get direct messages. Really, really cool, but you can't set up groups within that. And so I've kind of given up on Tweety. Next thing that I found was a piece of software called TweetDeck. Let's take a look at TweetDeck. TweetDeck looks like this. Really, really popular right now. A lot of people are using TweetDeck. You can see that I could have all my friends set up here. I could have mentions here. I could have different groups. So here's like some web celebrities. Here's some educational technology. Here's even my Facebook crew. And so I can have these all kind of running. And if I want to shrink it down, I can make it like that. So neat. You can see a bunch of stuff going on at once. My wife walked by when I was looking at TweetDeck for the first time. I was trying to explain to her how cool it is, and she's like, that's just insane. That doesn't make any sense to me. And so that didn't bother me that much. But what bothered me with TweetDeck, and again, I'm kind of picky, is that the color scheme just drives me nuts with the dark and the light. You can actually make changes to that, but I thought the fonts didn't look that good. And so I chose not to use TweetDeck. It's great. And everything that I show you on Seesmic, you can do with TweetDeck. One nice thing about TweetDeck is that they make an iPod or an iPhone app, and it'll actually sync your groups between the two. And so I use TweetDeck on the iPod Touch, and I'm going to keep using that until hopefully the Seesmic guys come up with the one. It looks like they're working on one as well. And so I'm going to quit TweetDeck, get rid of that. And I'm going to open up Seesmic Desktop. So what's nice about Seesmic Desktop for me, it's just a prettier app. It looks like they've done a nice job. I think it used to be a project called Twirl, and then they spun that into Seesmic Desktop. What's nice about it, it's totally free. It's also going to be cross-platform, and so it's kind of built on the Adobe Air technology, and so you're going to have to install that first before you can actually install the software. But that's nice. In other words, if you're using Linux or you're using Windows or you're using Mac, it's going to look exactly the same. Okay, so once you open up Seesmic Desktop, you can kind of see that it looks a lot like Tweety did. It gives me different sides to it. So I could have my home screen, I can have my replies, I could have private messages or messages that I've sent, and so I can kind of toggle between that. I could toggle between my Twitter account and then my Facebook account. And then I could add multiple Twitter accounts to that. And so it's nice, clean kind of an interface. And for me, I'm kind of font picky, and it looks really, really nice, at least on my computer. You can add user lists, and this is where it gets really, really powerful. And so it can be really set up in a few ways. This is single screen mode. What I actually use is this mode right here, and we can change modes down here on the bottom. And so what that'll give me is one fixed menu, but then I can detach menus if I want to, or detach columns if I want to. And so first of all, let me kind of go back and show you how you set it up. So if I go to settings right here, you can see that I've got my different accounts. So I've got my Facebook account, and then I've got my Twitter account. If I want to add another account, I just add it right on here, and then I can have a bunch of those. There's a few toggles along here that you can make changes, but I really didn't change anything. I like the way it looks to start. Okay, so let's say I want to make a new user list. So for example, let me go to my Twitter account. Let's say I want to have a user list for people that are just found in Bozeman, which is where I live. So I click on Bozeman, and then I click on OK. it'll create a new user list right here. So Bozeman is a new user list. You can see that there's nothing there. Now, let's say I want to make it kind of multi-columned. What I can do is just simply detach that column. And now Bozeman comes over here on the side. And let's say that I want to edit the number of people who are on it. So I click on this edit here. And then I can simply add people to it. Now, the nice thing about clicking on this is that they're actually going to show up. And so this is somebody I just started following from Bozeman, and he talks about Charles Darwin a lot. And so let's say I want to add him to that. The secret to, and this happens in both TweetDeck and in Seesmic Desktop, is that most of the functionality is going to be found by clicking right on their avatar or their picture. And so if I click on that, you can see that I could reply to that. I could send them a direct message. I could also retweet what they said, and I could show you how that works. So let's say if I want to retweet what this person said, I just retweet like that, and it goes right up here. I really like the way the whole posting works right here. So I don't want to do that right now. But let's say, since I'm showing you how user lists are set up, I could click right here, and then I could say I want to add this person to a user list. And which one? Well, they're not dealing with education technology. They're dealing with Bozeman. So I could click on Bozeman, and now I've added Darwin's bulldog to that. I could just find other people who are from Bozeman, and then it's going to throw them in there. Okay, so that's how that works. Shows me those, and let me just click on this. Let's see. Cancel right there. Okay, now there's nothing there, and that's because he hasn't tweeted anything since I set that up. And so once you add him to it, you're not going to find anything in that column, but it takes a little while for that to happen. So if you want to, and this is not how I have mine set up, I just wanted to show you how it defaults. I have a group of people that are talking about education technology, so I could detach that column. It's just going to throw it over here on the side. I could also, maybe there's a group that we have at the high school called Tech Junkies. I could detach that column, and it comes over here on the side. I follow a few web celebrities, and so I could detach that, and that comes over here on the side. And so you have a couple of different options. You could, if you want to, keep all those columns the same and just go single column mode, so we could just look at it like this. And then I would just toggle through it by clicking on Bozeman or Education Technology or Tech Junkies. And so if you wanted to look at that way, you can. Or if you want to spread it all out, then you can just spread all those people across, and we can have multiple things going on at once. Maybe I want my Facebook people over here as well. And so now I can just kind of drag through this, and I can look at my different columns. Okay, that's kind of how you follow people and organize people into lists. But the other thing you want to do in Twitter is you want to tweet. And to tweet, all you do is click in this box up here. Actually, I usually start by clicking either reply or direct message up here. But once this dialog box comes up at the top, you've got three options that make it really, really simple. You can just start typing at the top and then click send. Or you can add things like a URL. If I add a URL, I could type in, for example, the web address for the bold standard. I could click on OK, and it's automatically going to type that into a tiny URL that I could put in there. You can also add an image to it. You can do that by opening it or even clicking on the webcam and taking a picture of yourself. Or you can even drag a picture up, and then you can just click on OK. And it's going to take a second, but it's going to upload that picture, and then it's going to create a copy of that on the internet. And then one of the cool features you can do, let's say I'm typing something like this. I was just typing in Seesmic, came up with a tweet that's over 140 characters in length. Shrink test saves me time from trying to type another tweet, and so that gives me, I'm 3 characters beyond. But if I click on shrink text, it's going to shrink that down, and it's going to replace some of those words with smaller characters. You can see that it's spelled over, OVR, and so it's that cool texting way of talking, but it definitely gets me underneath that 140 characters. And so that's kind of my overview of Seesmic Desktop. I'm sure I'll be changing as the technology starts to improve, but it's a great place to get started getting control of Twitter.